Yeah, big week, last week of the non-conference schedule. I feel like we are playing fairly well, and this team has got a great mix of young and old players that are still gelling. And I think we have a lot of improvement we can still make, which is exciting. But we're also competing at a very high level. Just getting a little more consistent is key. So Wednesday at Kentucky, who, yes, a renovated gym. They're in the top 10. I'm guessing they'll stay in the top 10 this week. And then Nebraska on Sunday, the first ever regular season game on ABC. So I know y'all can watch it at home, but we need you in the stands and to make this a big deal. So ABC continues to air volleyball matches.
Open up for questions.
Danny, I know these are two teams that were already at the Yum Center at the very beginning of the year. How much, I guess, do you have to take with a grain of salt, what you saw then, and to see that type of caliber team in person?
Yeah, the first games of the year are always the kind of throwaway games, it seems like, because teams are really trying to figure themselves out. So we're not really scouting Nebraska or Kentucky based on those matches. But it is nice to see a little bit of the physicality in person. It's a little different than on film. So we're pretty familiar with both these teams. Just we play Kentucky every spring, and we've played Nebraska every other year. So a lot of our players are familiar with the other players.
For you personally, what is this week like going into this school's biggest rival, and of course your own?
Yeah, it's an exciting week for sure. And Kentucky's a huge match, and we've been lucky to win, I think, the last 2 or 3. So we want to keep that streak alive. And it feels like we haven't played in Memorial Coliseum in a long time, even though it was only 2 years ago. But Kentucky's always so tough at home. They're one of the best serve and pass teams in the country, and that puts them in any match. So it's going to be a dogfight. And then having Nebraska come back here for our last non-conference game is pretty special. And, besides it being my alma mater, they have high expectations on what a crowd should look like, what volleyball should look like, what kind of attention the sport should be given. And so I'm very excited to show that to them and their fans. And, I think we're at a great spot in those areas.
Danny, you mentioned early in the year and different things. What did you learn from your team so far? What have you learned from them? And you're always tweaking things, but is there any major things that you've seen?
I feel like I've learned a lot, too much to go through right now. Charity Looper has really stepped up this season, which we desperately needed her to, and that's been exciting to see. And then I've just seen our new players, as in Sofia Maldonado-Diaz and Nails Caballo, just really improving each and every match. So if we can get those 3 pieces firing on all cylinders, it takes a lot of pressure off some of our returners that have had to carry heavy loads, the last few years. And we're in a 6-2, which I get asked a lot if I still like it, and I do. It takes a little bit of growing pains, but I do believe that's our highest ceiling and what could give us the best chance to be back in the Yum Center in December.
Danny, do you guys learn more from a match like yesterday where you seemingly were in control and then got kind of blown out in a couple sets, then came back to win in 5?
Yeah, I think it's just good to experience that. I don't really know what we learned, but it's good to experience that type of momentum shift and then be able to come out in game 5 and take it back. That's very, very tough to do. And I thought this group showed a ton of maturity. We went back to our starting lineup, which, I was really questioning that decision. So it was good to see them just trust it and just say, look, we know player for player, we're better than this team. If we just perform at just a good level, we can take this. And I thought, again, a lot of maturity was shown, and we needed that. And it felt like last year when we started to lose momentum, we could not get it back. And so that was great for this team to experience that. And Creighton's a really, really good team. They're hoping they'll be here in December too, and they have a great chance.
Danny, beyond the X's and O's, are there any things that you have taken from Nebraska in terms of marketing your program, growing your program? It's a statewide phenomenon up there, and you may not have the same opportunity here, but what have you learned from them that can translate?
I think taking advantage of even opportunities like this, where getting in front of the media as much as we can, our players getting out in the community as much as they can. And then honestly, it comes down to like winning big matches and putting a great product on the floor. And I feel like we've done that with a team that we might not win every game, but our players they play with a lot of energy. They play together. They play with a lot of love for the sport, and people want to watch that. And you have to be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing, is consistency is really key when you're building a fan base and a program that's going to continue to get great attention.
Second question, this may sound a little stupid, but how much of your substitution is preordained and how much of it is something you decide during a match?
Well, this year, most of our subs, because we're in a 6-2, so you're a lot likelier to run out of subs. So we pretty much have a set rotation, and usually you only make a couple changes if you see an interesting matchup, or you need a serving sub, or to give somebody a break. But the system makes it a little bit tougher to make split decisions with subs because we will run out.
Danny, you talked about growing pains, but you have high expectations. You guys are highly ranked, playing a bunch of other teams that are highly ranked. How do you manage confidence levels if you're going through growing pains and it not be like, are we not good? Or are these issues we shouldn't be having? How do you manage that?
Great question. I feel like we do a great job of analyzing film and we have film with each player and as a team a lot, and just making sure that we're always showing them good things that they're doing and trying to repeat that and continuing to work on some of our strengths. And I think a lot of programs will just start working on weaknesses, and that can be really tough to do every single day, but we want to continue to make our strengths even stronger. So we work on those a lot as well. But a lot of it's leadership. We have a great senior team. They know they're good, a senior-led team, and they're managing that really well and understanding the balance of, like, we might not look great at all times, but they're confident that they're great players.
Yeah, Danny, could you talk about how Anna Deere's playing this year, what she brings to the team?
Yeah, Anna has been, she's struggling a little bit offensively, but the rest of her game has been really impressive. She's carried a heavy load for us for 4 years, and it's kind of nice she doesn't have to do that offensively, and we just need her to contribute in any way she can. And I think she knows that she's going to work through this slump, and I thought on Sunday she took some swings that were really, really impressive. Now it's just maintaining that level throughout a whole match.
Obviously, you mentioned this is the last week of the non-conference. Can you just speak to the ACC though? And
Yeah,
the top five. I mean, if you're in the top, whatever, five. I think it is.
Yeah, the ACC has turned into, I think this year, you could say the best conference in the country, and it's kind of crazy. It felt like it's been a long journey and a lot of changes in the ACC, but it's really impressive. Stanford and Pitt ranked 1, 2, we're 4. You have SMU swept Nebraska a couple of weeks ago. Miami swept Texas. Florida State was co-champ. They have everybody back. I mean, those are just the teams on the top of my head. So really, really impressive conference, and it will be a dogfight to win it this year.
Anything else?
Do you remember when you were recruiting Anna and the first time you saw her, did you see something special with her then?
Of course, I think the thing that has always stuck out about Anna is just she's such a competitor, and she does not take days off in practice, when she's watching film and matches. She has the total package when it comes in tangibles, and you could just see that when she played. And that's why when she's struggling, it's somebody you still need on the court, because you trust they're going to make plays in big moments, and she will. And if I'm going to go down in a game 5, I want her taking that last swing. And you could tell that when she was 16, that she was that type of player, and she wanted the ball, and she had the ability to take over a match.
Did you see her on film or did you see her in person?
In person, yeah.
At Assumption, obviously.
Yeah, and with Kiva, her club team, so watched her a ton. Back then we were recruiting like 8th and 9th graders, so we were watching her for 2 years and just, like praying that she was going to come to Louisville. At that time, it was huge because we felt a lot of pressure to get the best kid in the state of Kentucky, and specifically in the city of Louisville, to come to Louisville. And we hadn't even coached a match yet when she committed to play for us. So it was a huge, huge deal. And you can argue her along with the staff, as she's been a massive part of the turnaround.
Okay, last question.
What did you make of Assumption finally losing to a public school?
I didn't even know that, so. Who'd they lose to?
Ryle,
What? Who?
Ryle, up
Ryle.
in northern Kentucky.
Okay. You know, what's interesting is, I can't talk specifics of recruits that are younger, but we have a couple recruits coming from different parts of the state of Kentucky. So there's some really good talent, not just in the city of Louisville anymore, just among the states. So I don't think that beat them, but there are great players out there, not just that Assumption anymore. But I did not know they lost. Good for Ryle. Big deal. Sure. Thanks, guys, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.